Job abandonment. It's a term that gets thrown around loosely when an employer wants to terminate an employee who's been absent from work without communication. How do you perform a job abandonment procedure? Is it even really a thing? My name is Brendan Rolfe, HR professional and business advisor with the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. I'm going to talk about this and more. Let's get busy. So your employee no-showed you for the second time this week and didn't even let you know that they wouldn't come to work. Can you go forward with a job abandonment? Can you consider that they've left their post and that they've quit or resigned? Well, the answer is not really as simple as you think it might be. There's a few things you have to do before you consider a job to be abandoned, and even then, you may not be able to consider it a quit or a resignation, as they technically haven't quit the role with you. There's a few other considerations you need to think about too before you proceed with a job abandonment. The first thing you need to think about is what's the reasoning behind their absence and their non-communication, and you need to try to get to the heart of this. So if you do end up communicating with them after a few days of absence without communication, you need to ask the why. And you should know that if they provide a reason that's protected under the Human Rights Code, such as family circumstances, maybe they're taking care of a kid, or maybe they're dropping the kid off at school, or a disability, you can't terminate them for this reason. And in fact, you have to try to accommodate the lateness or absence from work, and you need to try to show that you're doing everything you can to accommodate before you move forward with any kind of disciplinary action or termination. Now, let's say an employee has gone MIA. What do? The first thing you need to do as an employer is to try to reach out to them, not just once and not just via one medium. You need to try to reach out to them every day and via different mediums, via email, via phone, via text, because the onus is on you as an employer to try to maintain contact while they're off. Now, if they don't respond after a certain period of time, and I'll be honest, the courts haven't outlined what that time period looks like, but you can bet it's probably not less than a week. Then you can start moving forward with job abandonment procedures. The first thing I would advise is sending to them in a text form, so email or phone text, that you haven't heard from them for a certain amount of time and that they have until a certain date, say a week or 2 weeks down the road, to respond to you. Otherwise, you're going to consider their position abandoned. Now, if they don't respond within that week period of time, you move forward with a registered letter. And a registered letter is a letter that they have to sign for. Now, we do this to show that A, we've taken another step as far as communication medium goes, but also if they sign for that letter and still don't respond, that illustrates pretty clearly to the courts that they have no intention of coming back to their current role. So if we get to that point, we send the registered letter and say that your job will be terminated effective this date. If we don't hear from you, we send a follow-up letter the same week afterwards saying that because we didn't hear from you, in reference to the last letter, we're considering your job abandoned and therefore you will be terminated with notice. We can move forward with the termination in that matter. You must understand that I did say with notice, and so that means it's not a just cause dismissal. Just cause dismissals are usually reserved for pretty egregious actions, something illegal, in fact, at the workplace. But if we move forward without cause, you can give them working notice. And of course, if they no-show the notice, you don't owe them any severance on top of that. So the next thing you need to know is that we can't just consider it a resignation unless we have some form of communication with them that says that they're done at work. I quit, I resign, I'm not coming back. Those are the only ways you can ever really consider an employee to have abandoned their job. Otherwise, it does need to be a termination. So follow those steps. Let's go through those one more time. 1, try to reach out to them regularly and often during their absence on various mediums. 2, send a letter, registered, saying that if they don't respond by a week or 2 weeks down the road, set that specific date, you will consider their job to be abandoned. On that date that you set, send one more registered letter saying that because they didn't respond to your original letter, nor did they respond to any of your attempts to contact, that you're considering their job abandoned and they're being terminated with notice. Give them the opportunity to work out that notice period. The last caveat I'm going to add is if at some point during the job abandonment procedure, they do reach back out to you, any kind of communication, and say anything but I quit, we can't move forward with job abandonment at that point. Job abandonment actually is more impetus surrounding communication rather than the act of not showing up to work. It's if a worker does not show up and does not communicate that absence to you, that's job abandonment. That doesn't mean we can't terminate them going forward. If they've been absent for a few days from work and they haven't communicated that properly to you and they've had warnings in the past or you have a company policy, you can still move forward with a termination without cause. Again, providing they don't give you a reason that's protected grounds, but we can't make it job abandonment. Hopefully you got some interesting and exciting and useful steps that you can use the next time a worker no-shows you. This has been Brendan Rolfe, CFIB. Until next time, stay busy.
Hi, I'm Beatrix Abdulaziz, Policy Analyst at CFIB. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date on our initiatives and consider joining us at CFIB.ca to see why we're in business for your business.